The Longsword is probably going to be the best all-round class in Wuchang Fallen Feathers, and it's personally the class that I used to get through my first playthrough in the game. It's a very powerful class. It's going to give you a lot of adaptability in terms of the fact that it's pretty good against all bosses in the game. There's nothing that's going to give you a super hard time when you use the Longsword, and it's also a great beginner weapon. If you're just starting out, it's simple to use, but it also has some quirks that you can kind of grow into and learn about. So without further ado, let's discuss the Longsword, how it all functions, how you can get the most out of it, and what your skill tree should look like. So let's first talk about the weapon that we're going to be making use of here, and there is one very clear weapon that I think is better than all the rest when it comes to longswords, and that is going to be the lashing whip. Now the lashing whip you can actually find beneath the Shu temple. It's very easy to find. It's pretty much just lying on the main path, so you probably won't miss this, but if you do, just head back below Shu temple. It should be lying there in the main path, and it is going to be the best longsword you can make use of. It's going to scale with agility 4 and strength 3. Now what that means is you're going to want to invest a little bit more into agility nodes than strength nodes, since this is obviously going to scale a little bit better when it comes to strength. It's going to be slightly slower than some of the quicker weapons like the dual blades, but it is also going to be a lot faster than things like the great axe or the spear. So it's going to be kind of in the middle when it comes to its speed. It's going to be on the higher side when it comes to damage, but it is also going to have a very nice blocking and parrying system. So if you like blocking and parrying, this weapon class is going to be perfect for you. So the lashing whip is going to be a very unique sword in the fact that it's going to kind of act as a whip. In the name, of course, it does mention that, but essentially what the sword is that you can see when you end up holding it, it's going to have like this weird pulsing effect where it kind of extends and shrinks. Its special ability or its weapon skill is going to allow you to kind of twirl around with it and extend its reach out like a whip. It also gives you a little bit of extra range in your attacks, since the sword is going to kind of extend outwards on certain attack combos, and this is going to mean that you're going to be able to hit enemies that you otherwise might not have been able to hit, since they might be a bit too far away from you, which I really like this weapon because of that extra range. It's obviously the name Longsword, it's quite long, plus the fact that it's got this little whipping effect, so it's actually a very, very solid weapon to make use of. Then taking a look at the skill tree, we are going to be making use of obviously a lot of skills on the bottom left hand side of the tab, which is going to be the longsword tree. We're also going to be leveling up a bunch of skills on the left hand side, which we do with pretty much all classes. Now I'm going to leave it up to you to decide how much you want to invest on the left versus how much you want to invest on the bottom left, since this is going to basically be a choice between increasing the potency or power of your weapon versus increasing your survivability and also maybe your spell efficiency. That's what the left hand side of the skill tree is going to be mostly about. So you're going to kind of balance the two between what you want. When you start the game, you're only going to have 3 potions. You're going to need to level up the left hand side of the skill tree to upgrade and get more mana potions and increase their efficiency and get more skyborn might, whereas you're going to have to level up the longsword skill tree if you want to get more damage from your sword, since that's going to be a majority where you're going to find all the agility and strength icons, of course. So the first skill we're going to unlock is going to be the Sword Saint. This is going to be the second attack of the longsword light attack combo, will grant you 1 stack of skyborn might, and I actually really like this one. Comes only on the second attack of the longsword, which means you're going to get skyborn might fairly easy. A lot of the other weapons are going to require only the later combos will give you skyborn might. With a longsword, you're going to get it very early on, so you're easily going to be able to get your skyborn might. If you don't know what skyborn might is, essentially this game's a version of mana, and when you do end up getting skyborn might, you are going to unlock the ability to cast certain spells. Some spells are going to cost 1, some spells are going to cost 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then you're also going to have disciplines. Now disciplines are going to be like abilities or stronger attacks you're going to be able to unlock for your weapons, and those abilities are going to have bonus abilities or more increased effects if you have enough skyborn might to make use of them. So obviously skyborn might is quite important, and having ways to get skyborn might so easily with this weapon is quite nice. You're also going to want to probably pick up the vitality and strength nodes here, since they're very convenient to pick up, and obviously strength is going to give you a little bit of weapon scaling, and vitality is just always nice to have. Keep moving down all the way till you unlock wind force. Now what wind force is going to do is this one's actually very important for this build. Every class has a perk like this, but this one is especially important for the longsword. This one is going to be, you can consume 1 stack of skyborn might to quickly strike with a heavy attack. Now the heavy attacks with this longsword are actually quite important, because one of the things that's so nice about the longsword is if you do end up doing a heavy attack and you hit an enemy from behind, you will instantly stun them. Now this goes for most bosses, well, that are humanoid in size. Obviously the massive bosses, that's not going to work, but most bosses that are humanoid in size, you are going to be able to stun them instantly if you can manage to land a back strike. Now if you do end up being able to do your heavy attack quicker, this is going to be a lot easier. So if you have skyborn might available, you are going to be able to stun bosses, which is going to give you a much easier time when you fight bosses, because a nice way to deal with bosses is often going to be just try find windows that you can stun them if you end up timing your heavy attacks and stunning them from behind, because you can get a lot of damage in them when they're stunned, and this is a great way that you can make use of this weapon. So make sure you pick this perk up, and make sure that you do end up, if you're having a difficult time with bosses, try find windows where you can kind of just dodge out of the way and get skyborn might, and then do a heavy attack, and then also land a heavy attack from behind. It's also important to note when you do perfect dodges in this game, you get skyborn might for doing the dodges. So if you can time a well-timed dodge, you'll get Skyborn Might from the dodge, and then you can do a heavy attack from behind and stun them, which is a very effective way to use this weapon. Now, you're also going to want to head over to the left and right hand side here to pick up the Strong Blade perks. These are going to be basically your weapon's mastery, and that is going to greatly increase the damage of the weapon. So make sure you're leveling these up every time that you can. You're going to want to try level up all of them in the skill tree. Eventually you can get to plus 10. You're going to be able to unlock these by getting red feathers. Now the red feathers you're going to gain in different tiers. You're going to get basic red feathers, faint red feathers, brilliant red feathers, and so on. Those are going to be what you need to upgrade these perks. So make sure you do end up upgrading them every time you can. You can find them kind of lying around the map. They're typically going to be just on the floor sometimes. Sometimes when you defeat certain enemies, you will be able to find them. Just make sure you're on the lookout for those. Then you're going to want to head on down and unlock this discipline. This is a very important discipline, especially if you are stuck on a certain boss called Commander Honglin. This is going to make this fight so much easier. You will thank me for this one later. Make sure you pick this one up. This one, the sword counter discipline, is going to basically allow you to be able to block and also parry when you do end up upgrading the variant 1 and variant 2. Variant 1 is going to allow you to deflect enemy attacks with a sword counter to expose their vulnerability even further. So that's going to allow you to basically stun them when you do end up blocking them. But then when you get variant 2, you're going to be able to attack with a sword counter, enabling you yourself to launch yourself forward and do a big attack when you do end up breaking their stance. So make sure you do pick this perk up. I think having the ability to parry in this game is very valuable, especially in certain bosses like Commander Honglin, which is otherwise a very difficult boss, which is made very easy with this perk. So pick that one up. You can ignore all the feathering perks on the way down here, since feathering is going to be not very much needed with this weapon. It doesn't scale, so you can ignore that unless you really want to use the discipline of Corrosive Flurry, which is actually a pretty cool discipline, but you unfortunately have to pick up a lot of feathering nodes there, so I don't really recommend it with this weapon. But if you really want to make use of that, you can pick that one up. But I would rather stick to the sword counter, since sword countering is just very valuable with this build. Then you're going to want to move on all the way down to Sword Savant. And what this is going to do is the third attack of the Longsword Light Attack combo will gain Clash. And what Clash basically is when you attack at the same time as an enemy's attack, you will end up mitigating the damage and you won't end up getting stunned by their attack. So you can kind of just ignore their attack and just keep your attack combos going. You will still take damage, so just keep in mind you will take a bit of damage, not the full amount, but a little bit of damage at a reduced rate. Then you're going to want to move over to the right hand side, pick up the Strong Blade perk as well. That one's going to be quite important. And then you're going to want to pick up the Sword Master. What the Sword Master is going to do is the fifth attack of the light attack combo is going to gain you 2 stacks of Skyborn Might. So the first one now is going to give you 1 stack, and then the fifth attack of the combo is going to give you 2 more. So you can get a lot of Skyborn Might by just doing your light attack combos. That one is obviously just nice to have. Then you can obviously go back and level up some of the strength and agility nodes. There's quite a few agility nodes on the right hand side here. Make sure you pick those ones up. There are actually a ton of agility nodes on this right hand side of the skill tree. Those are very important since this weapon is going to scale with scaling of 4 on agility, so it's going to be ideal for this weapon class. Make sure you also pick up the bigger agility node. And this pretty much goes for most large nodes in the game, especially if they are going to be relevant to your build. This large agility node is going to be giving you plus 5 points when you do end up leveling up, whereas all the other perks, or most of the other perks at least, are going to only give you plus 1 stat when you level them up. So having plus 5 for using just 1 red mercury essence is basically getting 5 for the price of 1, which is obviously very valuable. Then you can head further down. Make sure you pick up the large endurance and the large vitality node on the way down. You can level up all the way down to get the last Strong Blade perk. Make sure you pick up the large strength and large agility icons. They're kind of right next to each other. Pick those ones up, since again plus 5 agility and plus 5 strength is going to give you a lot more damage. So you're pretty much going to level up just about everything on the skill tree except for all the discipline variants, as well as you can ignore that feathering tab on the left hand side there, since that is not going to be applicable for our build. Now moving on to the left hand side of the skill tree, this is going to be where you're going to help improve your survivability. You're definitely going to want to pick up the mana capacity upgrades when you can. These, similar to the Strong Blade upgrades, are going to be only unlockable when you do end up gaining the right materials for it. These are going to typically require you to get Forgotten Remembrances or Lost Remains. You can typically find these in these large golden chests. They're pretty much in most places on the map. They're going to be usually like hidden in like some areas that are going to be a little bit more difficult to reach, but when you do end up finding those, you're going to be able to upgrade your potions in terms of their capacity and also how much they're going to be able to heal you. Those are very important to pick up, so make sure you get those. Also make sure you end up gaining as many Skyborn Call perks as you can. They're typically on the center of this left hand path. There's going to be Skyborn Call 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to increase the amount of Skyborn Might you can have. When you start the game, you're only going to be able to have 1 Skyborn Might, and when you do end up leveling this up, you are going to be able to increase that capacity, which is very valuable because some of the spells in the game are going to require you to have more Skyborn Might in order to be able to cast them. Then you're going to want to move on up here a bit to Steel Resolve, and this one is going to give you, while 50% madness, you gain 1 stack of Skybound Might upon deflecting. So obviously, since we are going to be blocking, deflecting enemy attacks, having this is going to allow us to capitalize on that and be able to gain more Skybound Might, which is going to be quite nice to have, of course. Then continue to move all the way down to the left here until you find Rapid Temperance. That is going to allow you to, while 50% madness, you are going to accelerate the effect of your weapons. This is essentially allowing you to cast your Temperance ability faster. And speaking of Temperance, you're also going to want to pick up the Bow Needle Poise Break, since that is going to synergize with this weapon. The Bow Needle is essentially going to be your Temperance, and this is going to enhance your sword so that you can do poise damage to enemies. And the way you equip this is you want to go into your items menu, equip the thing that is going to be like kind of like a strong arm looking icon, and when you do end up pressing the activate button, when you do hover over it, this is going to activate your Temperance, and it's going to allow you to do increased damage. So make sure you pick that one up whenever you can. You're also going to want to make sure you pick up Energetic. This is going to allow you to gain a small amount of stamina when you do end up gaining Skybound Might, and since this weapon is going to have quite a few ways of gaining Skybound Might, that is going to allow you to recover stamina. This weapon is actually going to consume quite a bit of stamina, so having extra ways to generate stamina is, like most weapons, going to be very valuable, so always pick that one up. And you can move all the way down to the Fury of Skyborn. This one is going to allow you to, while 50% madness, the Skyborn cost of Echo Spells is going to be reduced by 1. Now this weapon class isn't going to be very heavy on the spell casting, so you don't have to worry that much about this one. This is more of a nice to have if you have extra perk slots available. The reason why I like this one is because there are some Echo Spells, especially the Echo Bow Magus, which is going to give you like a little bubble or protective shield around yourself, which is also an Echo Spell that makes this one a little bit more valuable to cast, since it's going to be cheaper. But if you don't want to use spells, you can ignore this one. This is only if there's a spell or two you want to make use of. Otherwise, you don't have to end up getting that perk if you don't want to. Then you're going to want to make sure you pick up the Alteration perks over here. This is going to allow you to slot in more Acupoint slots, and the Acupoint slots are essentially going to be enhancements to your Temperance. That is going to, we'll discuss more about the Temperance later on, but just pick those ones up because it's going to give you essentially extra damage on your weapon, since the Acupoints are going to allow you to essentially increase your damage overall. Then you can also pick up the Temper, which is going to gain you +1 charges on your Temperance, so you, instead of only being able to use it once, you can now use it twice, so it's going to give you just more activations, of course. So another no-brainer, pick that one up when you can. Level this all the way up to Skybound Call 2. Obviously pick that one up since it's going to give you more Skybound Might, which is very valuable. Then you're going to want to pick up the next Temper perk. Again, this is going to further increase the amount of Temperance that you are going to be able to activate between each shrine, so that one is also another no-brainer. Then you can pick up some more of the mana capacities and mana potencies when you can, of course. When you are able to upgrade these, just keep trying to upgrade them when possible. Level on further till you get to Skybound Core 3. Grab that one, obviously. That one's a no-brainer as well. And then pick up the other Alteration perk here, since that's going to, again, unlock another Acupoint slot, which is going to allow you to, of course, then do even more damage to the weapon, which is very nice. Then you're going to want to move up to the top here to unlock the last mana capacity perk when you do end up being able to unlock it, and also move all the way down to the last Alteration tab when you can. This one's going to be more of a very late game thing, so you probably won't unlock this until the very later stages. When you do end up being able to unlock it, you're going to be able to equip the last Acupoint slot on your weapon, which is of course going to increase its effectiveness quite a lot. Now let's talk about the Benedictions that I like to make use of on this weapon. The ones that I like to make use of personally is going to be the Tri-Disciplinary Force, the one that gives you damage if you have 3 discipline skills known, the one that's going to give you plus more extra damage if you have 6 discipline skills known, and the last one is going to be the same thing, but you're going to need to know 9 disciplines. Now all of these together are going to give you a lot of increased damage, but it's also going to require you to, of course, level up quite a few of the disciplines. Now this is more of a late game set of Benedictions, since this is going to require you to unlock a lot of disciplines, so you don't worry about this if you're on the early stage of the game. This is more of a late game thing. If you are in the early stage of the game, you can end up looking for disciplines that are going to synergize with this weapon. One of the ones that I like to make use of, since you are aiming to hit enemies from behind, is going to be the discipline that is going to allow you to heal yourself when you do end up attacking enemies from behind. This one is going to be very valuable, since this weapon, you are going to aim to try hit enemies from behind quite a lot, so that one is going to be quite nice. You can also end up using the Blocking Clash Benediction. This one's going to increase the potency of blocks and clashes, and since if you are going to make use of the blocking of this weapon frequently, this is obviously going to allow you to increase the potency of that. And the last one you can make use of potentially is going to be the Combo Force, which is going to consecutive attacks increase your damage. That's essentially just going to allow you to do a little bit extra damage when you do end up using your combo pieces. Now again, this is more of an early game set of Benedictions. If you do want to transition more to a late game set of Benedictions, you are going to want to make use of the Tri-Disciplinary Forces, since they are going to drastically increase your damage. So I'll definitely move on to those when you do end up reaching the late stage of the game. Now going back to the skill tree, if you do end up finding yourself fully maxing out the Longsword tab as well as the left hand side of the tab, I do think that it is valuable to then start moving on to another tab. And the next tab that I like to make use of is going to be the Spear tab, since there are a decent amount of both agility and strength nodes you can level up here to to increase weapons damage. So if you do end up reaching the later stage of the game, you're probably going to want to level up a bunch of things in the spear tab. If you do find yourself in a position where you do end up leveling up also the spear tab, the one you're going to want to probably level up after that is going to be the dual blade tab, since there are quite a few agility nodes on the dual blades, and that is going to be your better weapon scaling. So leveling up agility is obviously going to be quite valuable. So if you find yourself in the very late stage of the game, you can also work a little bit on the dual blade tab as well. Then taking a look at the bow needle, we're going to be making use of the poise break bow needle, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, since this weapon is going to be compatible with the bow needle. So you're going to make use of that. Then when it comes to the acupoint slots, you're going to want to put on the gleaming stone agility. This is going to like to moderately increase the agility control of the weapon. If you don't have the moderate one, you can go for the smaller one if you're still in the earlier stage of the game. And then likewise, you're also going to put on the gleaming stone of strength, which is going to like to moderately increase the strength control of the weapon. And again, if you don't have that one, you can do one that is either going to give you maybe the small agility one, or you can put on maybe a smaller strength one if you have that one as well. Then the third acupoint slot, I like to make use of the Plumestone Needle Temper. This is going to allow you to increase the attack power gain from tempering. That one's going to, again, allow you to do a little bit of extra damage. And the last one I like to make use of is going to be the Everlight Stone Needle Continuity, which is going to increase the duration of how long the temperance lasts, so that you can just make sure you can sustain your damage for a little while longer before you run out and have to activate it again. Now, let's take a look at the last thing of this build, and that is going to be the pendant slots. Now, the pendant slots, I like to make use of the Twin Infinite Pendant. I'm pretty sure I use Twin Infinite Pendant on just about every class of mine. It's just so nice to have increased stamina recovery speed. So this one is pretty much auto include. You just put that one on because it's very good. I also like to make use of the Dragonfish Pendant, which is going to increase your maximum stamina, which is again is also quite nice since this weapon actually does burn through stamina quite quickly. And the last one I like to make use of is going to be increased weapon slash power, but also increased damage taken. Now, since this weapon is obviously going to predominantly do some slash damage, a little bit of stab damage as well, obviously the slashing power is going to be quite valuable. So a little bit of extra damage. Now, if you don't like the extra damage taken, you can always use something else here. It's not crucial that you have this one. There are ones that, for example, are going to increase your weapon stab power. That's going to have no downside. You can also put things on that will increase your weapon damage against larger enemies, which might happen when it comes to some boss fights. So you can always put those on. Whichever one you feel more comfortable with, you can make use of here. Now, in terms of the spells, this one is personal preference. I don't find myself using spells that much when I use this build, but if you do want to use spells, one of the personal favorites that I like to use is the Echo of Bo Magus, but it's not crucial. This is not something you're going to use that much, so I wouldn't worry too much about the spell tab with this build. Overall, I think the Longsword is going to be the best all-rounder class in the game. There's pretty much no boss that's going to be too hard or too easy with this build. It's just a very nice, stable class. It's going to give you a lot of maneuverability. It's going to give you a very nice way to stun enemies. I think most heavy weapon attacks in this game are going to be on the slower side, so they can be a bit difficult to get the stun on enemies, whereas this class is going to allow you to get a nice flow of kind of dodging behind enemies, doing heavy attacks from behind and stunning them, which is going to give you a much easier time when it comes to certain bosses. I also really like this weapon in terms of the blocking and the parrying, especially on certain bosses that can be very annoying if you don't have this ability unlocked. But overall, this weapon class is going to be just a very good all-round class. It's fairly easy to use. Obviously, it's a little bit harder to master, but it's definitely a great class if you're a beginner. It's definitely what I would recommend playing if you are starting out in this game and you first want to come to terms with the game's mechanics and overall feeling of the game before you maybe move on to experiment with other classes. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite class in Wuchang Fallen Feathers? And I'll see you guys again next time. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.